Will do. Hello and welcome to Separated by Water. Thomas Frank has been sacked after results: 1 win in 11, no win in 8 games, no win in 2026. He has a worse record than Ange Postecoglou in the accumulation of points. Colin, your initial reaction, and is this too late?
My initial reaction is a combination probably of disappointment, frustration, I don't know, and acceptance, I think after watching last night's performance, this was inevitable. But I have to say that, the board again, I'm going, probably got everything wrong here. They didn't back him in the market. They didn't sack him when the window was open. They waited now till the window's closed. There's a hell of a lot of injuries. A depleted, disillusioned squad. So whoever comes in next will get probably the new manager bounced to some degree, but has to understand the mess we're in, and the trouble we're in. So that's it. I'm just all over the place this morning, yeah. Frank's a decent guy, but results and performances spoke for themselves.
He's a real option now. He's a real option.
Well, yeah. I think no, it was. Just something has to happen to shake us out of this lethargy, this downward trajectory, where we're in a relegation battle, and anyone who thinks we're not is, I don't know, doesn't do maths and doesn't follow football or football psychology. We're big in there. We're probably the worst form of all the teams in that bottom 6 or 7, and it's not good at all. Yeah.
So the new manager you're getting in, De Zerbi, is the bookies' favourites. I don't know if he's will they go for a temporary manager? Will they go for a full-time manager? At the start of the season, you said that you wanted to see shape and commitment. Did you see either under Frank?
At the beginning, yes. I said that prior to the PSG Super Cup match, and during that was a draw. That was like a win. After that, Burnley and Man City were very good victories, and the team looked good. It looked purposeful. Everyone seemed to know what they were doing. Richarlison was drifting out to the wing, allowing the midfielders to come through. Johnson scored. Polina scored against City away. And then whatever happened, defeated Bournemouth. And from then on, it just seems to have drifted apart. So neither shape nor commitment were evident to me in recent weeks. Yeah, we've got a good half here and there. But last night, what I think, and I'm on record as saying what I think is a relatively average Newcastle side, made themselves look very good. And they took Solanke right out of the game and closed us off. They pressed up on our defence. We were reduced, as I say, to longer balls, which weren't going anywhere. We're being picked off. And it was hard to watch. So neither shape nor commitment, and it's the latter of those two that worries me in our current predicament.
Okay, let's unravel Thomas Frank as the Spurs manager. He came to you from Brentford. I remember you saying to me at one stage that Brentford didn't look too disappointed at him leaving, so maybe there's a story in there. They've continued to do well in his absence, as we all know. Was this job too big for him?
I think that will be the final. That will be the final analysis. Whenever the perception, I think, of Frank at Brentford was very positive. It was like he was a master tactician. He had that sort of professorial look, a wee bit like Arsene Wenger had, and a few others. And he was kind of feted for making Brentford bigger than punching above their weight, getting some good results, and staying well up the table. I think it's telling that when he left, I think at one stage Brentford were favourites to go down. And nobody could understand the appointment of Keith Andrews, set-piece coach, no previous experience, dropped right into a Premier League job. But, look at the table. So I wonder how much of that perception was accurate. He comes to Spurs, and from the off, I have to say, and I'm not wise after the event, I watched an interview with him in the pre-season. He had the nice navy Tottenham polo shirt on with the badge and everything. And he's being interviewed. And I just thought, there's no, I didn't feel the charisma or the buzz or the excitement that you should feel with a new manager. But I said I was intrigued. Yeah. I have ceased to be intrigued probably from the turn of the year. And I think you can't say he hasn't been given a chance, So that was that. Brentford are doing okay.
There's the record. There's the record of your managers all across the board. And Ramos is the closest to him. Ange Postecoglou, who would know what sort of season he had with you.
Yeah.
Your expected goals per game are under Thomas Frank were 1.29 goals. And that graphic is courtesy of Transfer Market.
Yeah.
It's shocking, Colin. It is a shocking record for a Spurs team. I don't always agree with you that you're a top 6 club, but I know that you're better than where you shouldn't be where you are. And I know we often joke about it, but that is a shocking performance for a Spurs manager.
Yeah, I think there are some factors need to be fed into that. To be honest, and to be fair to everyone. Postecoglou, and even to a greater extent, Frank will say, well, we didn't have Harry Kane at his best and we didn't have Son at his best. As well as that, for a lot of this season, Richarlison and or Solanke were injured and unfit. And Moani had come on loan and was probably finding his feet. So, they're mitigating circumstances for some of those stats. However, having said that, you're a highly, highly paid head coach or manager, or whatever you're called, and the challenge is yours to deal with that, and to deal with it by maybe insisting behind closed doors, whatever it is, that a new forward's needed or something to get us sorted. So yeah, it doesn't read well. I think there are mitigating factors, as I've said, but ultimately it still doesn't read well. And one of the highest there was Pochettino. And sometimes another thing that can obscure those stats is that the more games you play, the more likely your figures can get worse, And Pochettino stands up there very highly. Mourinho too, but in a very short time. Pochettino got us from probably not much to one hell of a lot. And he just didn't get over the line with the trophy. But I think when people look at that in 5 years, X years' time, Frank, unfortunately, won't look too good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do Spurs need to do now? Do they bring in a caretaker manager, a fire stopper, a gatekeeper, as they're referred to, or do they go with Robert De Zerbi? Which would you prefer?
What I would prefer, I Robert De Zerbi, no harm to him. I'm not sure about him, to tell you the truth. What do I know of him? I know that he was well regarded and he came to Brighton when Potter left, I think. He had 2 good seasons there and then he left. He's been, I think, 1.5 seasons at Marseille, who are traditionally one of the strongest teams in France. 1 good season and not a good season. That's not a good half season. No, I'm not sure. What's he telling us that Frank didn't tell us? Probably a caretaker until the end of the season when we can take stock. Because I don't think there's anyone out there just at the moment who is either available or willing or equipped, to deal what we need to deal with. We need a manager who really a temporary manager who really understands the mess we're in. And that is, if we don't get our act together, we're going down. West Ham, okay, a late equaliser last night. Leeds, what a battling performance that was. Forest could win tonight. Palace got a win at the weekend. So, if you took last 10 recent form, I think we're probably in with Wolves and Burnley to some degree, to a large degree. So we need somebody who
Sorry to tell you,
understands
but
that.
Sorry to tell you, but that's exactly where you are. I heard the stat this
I know.
morning that you're
Yeah, I know.
on the same
That's what I'm
time.
saying.
But
That's what I'm saying.
the thing is, Colin, and you've got a tighter running than the rest of us. In the next 5 games, you've a far worse running than the rest of us in quality of teams. Now, what does that mean? Maybe it means very little, but at the minute, on paper, you've got a very tight next five games.
Yeah, definitely.
On Thomas Frank's demise,
yeah.
Just on Thomas Frank's demise, I watched him manage Romero, and Romero coming out and speaking against the hierarchy of your club. Then the red card the other day, which got him an automatic ban, I think. Did Thomas Frank lose face by not standing up to him, by letting him continue to be your captain and not fining him, nothing, just let him come back on the pitch and carry on? Or was that a matter for the hierarchy and not him?
I think it's a matter, in my opinion, a matter for the hierarchy. I don't think it's good for managers to get involved in that kind of thing, particularly when there's the very obvious and strong tension between the fan base and the owners. I think Frank was between a rock and a hard place there, and his brief, his priority is the performances on the pitch, and he's probably thinking, I really need my captain out there. So two separate things here. One is about his Instagram or whatever it was he did, social media. That's not the first time he's done that. That plays to the gallery of people like me who says, oh, at least he cares. He feels the same way we do. We blah, blah, blah. Okay. He signed a contract in the summer there when the accepted wisdom was he was going to Athletic Madrid. He signed for us and we thought, great. Here's a World Cup winner. But I think that disguises a few things, I mean, there have been some average players in wonderful teams through the years. On the pitch, he let us down. And that's not the first time. He did that against Chelsea 2 seasons ago when the whole Ange thing came crumbling down, the match I've referred to on numerous occasions. He gave a penalty away and was sent off just before half-time when we were winning.
Yeah.
And that turned the whole thing, So he's a guy who appears to me that when you really need him, he'll let you down. So I think that Frank, no matter what he did, was going to come out of that badly. The only thing probably would have worked for Frank was that if Romero had saved 3 off the line and scored a hat-trick against United, he would have been able to come out and say, well, I stood by my captain. But it couldn't have been any worse. Off after 29 minutes, a straight red card. Now, I think it was a bit harsh, but I can understand why it was given. I think there were a few other things happening in the match that could have been looked at that way too, but beside the point. So he was never going to come out of it well, given Romero's temperament and behaviour.
Yeah. I want to compliment you. We're 13 minutes into the podcast. You haven't mentioned the Lewis family. You haven't mentioned
well, you mentioned the owners, but
time
we go.
I'm going to ask you a question about them now. How have they come out of this? How are they looking coming out of this?
I think they're coming out terrible. Really terrible. And here's why. Whoever appointed Frank at the start, was it Levy or whatever it was? Okay. He was appointed and we all said, well, okay, let's go with this. Right? The next one was Levy steps down or is sacked. And we're told, it's implied that he was kind of the restraining factor on the spending and the strategy. And they want to win more and more often. So we go, okay, let's go. But every chance they've had, and they also probably implied actually that the debacle of the beginning of the season, trying to buy Eastie and then making a Horlicks of it and coming in with a few late loans and this and that and the other thing, we're down to Levy. But they've done nothing to show that they're any different. And I had said in one of our podcasts that the do much scenario, they could either, in the transfer window, I said, first of all, they should have the players lined up in November, December to points very quickly. City did, regardless of City's rights and wrongs in their position. They got two players in, and they're playing okay. They didn't do that. We fiddled about. We thought then, are they going to trust? I said, are they going to trust Frank with the money? Or are they going to sack him? But if they're keeping him, why don't they trust him with the money and let him make a statement? I said, they must make a statement in January. Unfortunately, the statement they made was what I call the Doomwatch scenario, where they kept Frank in post and didn't give him nothing. So hung him out to dry. We sold Brendan Johnson. Now you get at me about John. I always liked Brendan Johnson. All I ever said was I think he could be a better, more effective player over 90 minutes than he usually was. He became like a moment player. He got the goal or he did this, which is perfect. But I thought he could have, in today's world, he could have influenced the game more. And that's sitting at the ground watching him, not just TV highlights. So we'll let him go. And we do nothing about that. We bring Gallagher in. I'm very pleased about that. But what I'm talking about is the net improvement. We're worse off following the window with injuries. Bergval, Bentancur, Danso, Kudos, Richarlison, so on and so forth. And we're worse off. So I think they have come out of this very, very poorly. And a couple of the statements they made recently only threw, to me, oil in the fire, frankly, because they, what do they take us for? So a big no to the ownership.
Okay, so in essence, what you're saying is that the Spurs are stuck in a cycle of short-term fixes, and they've I believe, a recruitment problem that no manager can fix. There's a recurring injury situation every year. You have more injuries than any other team in the league, so that has to be addressed. Why is that happening? What manager is going to take the job? Really? I know the money is always going to bring in somebody, but is it it's not an attractive prospect because everybody leaves it as it's becoming a bit of a basket case.
I understand what you're saying, and there's plenty of evidence for what you're saying. Dealing with some of them, I think our recruitment policy is not good, and I think that's for one or two reasons. One is that people will throw up in my face, oh, look, we spent the sixth most amount of money in the last season or over the last 2 seasons. Spent it badly, And here are a couple of examples. We've got £100 million for Bale and bought about 8 players. Only one of them, Christian Eriksen, at the end, held any water with us, So that was a mess.
Yeah.
We did the same with Kane, so... there is not a strategy there about talking about what sort of a team are we and how do we like to play and how are we going to win things, And that requires, as I've said before, not 2 £50 million players, but a £100 million player. Reference Declan Rice, reference all other people who are game changers, And we need to make those statements and we are in the market for them. And we can bring in the youth and we can do all that because the old truism is that to be a wonderful team, you need 8 really good players and 3 world-class players. And you maybe need to bring in the world-class players and build your own for the other time. Real Madrid many years ago moved from the Galacticos to that model where they say there are certain players we should be able to bring through ourselves. So I think our strategy is flawed. But that's because I think that there's a lack of mutual belief in the long term between managers and the owners, And it worked at its best when Pochettino was there. But he was producing miracles out of very comparatively less money. And he had to sell Kyle Walker to City, for example. We didn't want to do, shouldn't have ever had to do. So that's what's wrong in that one. The injuries are a mystery to me. If we can have the best ground in the land and amongst the best supporters and teams, blah, 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 why can we not resolve or improve these medical problems? Why can we not head them off at the pass? Surely when they do medicals on players when they come in, they have to pass a test. Surely they're monitored regularly through their training. So surely to God we can identify a weakness, be it a hamstring or a knee. Surely to God we can do something about that. but because these people are paid a fortune. They're paid a fortune to do this work. And for many of us who are on salaries and so on, if we get on like that, if our performance for the year was similar to that, we wouldn't be in jobs. We're all subject to appraisals, be it profit and loss or performance appraisals, as I was. And if you weren't producing the goods, you wouldn't bother. So anyway, and I'd say, Tottenham sick leave's worse than the civil service. So the only organisation you can probably say that about. The other, about top six, top whatever it is, we'll leave that. That's just a personal opinion. Spurs need probably a two-stage improvement. One is this year to get over this and to stay up and to go as far as they can in the Champions League. Now, would I take 17th and winning the Champions League? Yes, I would take that with Forest finishing 16th and winning Europa League, But I have a feeling that the reality when we'll meet the first Premiership team, will probably go out. That's beside the point. The point we really have now is to stay up. And I think we need probably someone who knows how to do that in the short term. I don't know if Harry's read that, but I think he was badly treated at the end by Tottenham. He was very unlucky that we'd finished fourth. Chelsea had finished outside the top four, won the Champions League in Munich against Munich on penalties. Otherwise, we'd have been in the Champions League that year and we wouldn't have had Andre Bias-Boas, would have had Harry. I like the way Harry played. Maybe he's too old. I don't know. Only he knows. But I think our solution here is short term. At the moment, is to have somebody who can sort that group out and get them to play in a shape and with commitment and with tactics that are to our strengths and get enough points to stay up, And even that, for Spurs and their fans, is a humiliation.
Yeah, I hear it when you're saying, and I want to come to the question about relegation in a minute. Stability is what you need. And with your injuries and the squad that is fit at the moment, and I'm asking you a genuine, serious question. Is that squad good enough? Is that squad good enough to keep you in the Premiership? Because I've never seen a worse Spurs team. I've never seen a worse Spurs team in my life. And I'll be honest with you, the first day I really noticed it was the day that we were at the City Ground. I just saw a team that was just upside down.
Well, see, Paul, that's what I refer to. That's the difference between watching it on TV and being there. You get a lot more sensory effect, You soak in a lot more when you're actually at the ground, watching the players living and breathing, the communication between them, the body language, those things, the heads go down or go up, the agitation between Gray and Vicario that day, that hospital pass the goalkeeper gave him. Some of those things, when they're condensed, they just don't come across. The team that we have available to us is only just good enough to stay up. Only just. Yeah. I mean, we lost to Urgent Man United. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. No, we'll finish up shortly. I can see almost your frustration in your appearance and your voice as well. I listened to the radio there, and
just say it matters.
a Spurs guy comes on to talk sport, and he's very vocal. Yeah, this guy talked about it. He was very passionate as well. I mean, he was. Yeah. They were saying you need to sit down. You're going to annoy the neighbours and all that. There, he was so passionate, and he said, "I hope we get relegated. This is the only thing that's going to sort out Spurs. Relegated, and get rid of this attitude and this belief that we're entitled to be in the Premiership." Do you share that view?
No, and I understand where he's coming from, but probably the difference between me and somebody who will phone talk sport, I hope many differences, but one is, me, Paul, I'm a slow burner. I'm not prone to outbursts. I think it through and try to reason it. Doesn't mean I don't get angry or annoyed or disappointed or hurt or upset or whatever it might be. But sometimes I try to count at my background and training to teach me to try to count to 10 and see what I really think. For me, what that guy's saying is like saying to your wife, I hate you. I wish I'd never married you. You're the ugliest woman I've ever seen in my life. There are 10 women I could have had instead of you. I don't know what I'm still doing. Blah, blah, blah. and about 2 hours later, you're wondering where your dinner is, So I don't think there's anything to be gained by us going down. Doing things to spite people like the owners or whatever it might be. You got to look at it and say, well, no, that ruins it for us as well. When Spurs went down in the 70s, it was a different world. Keith Birkinshaw was given a chance. We had a lot of players who were able to find their feet: Hoddle, McNabb, Chris Jones, Daines, so on and so forth. But it doesn't work like that now. You go down there, the gap between the old second division, as I call it, and the Premier League, the Championship and the Premier League, was massive. And we're seeing that year on year on year. Occasionally a team like Sunderland comes through, but that was good at recruitment. Key recruitment, and your man Zammit, who's excellent. And a belief, complementarity between the manager and the board. Usually they go up and come down. So I do not subscribe to that at all. It's a humiliation already being in this relegation battle. I really am. And
morning, Freddie. Freddie says the worry. Freddie says the worry in the sacking this is maybe too late with all these injuries. We've just touched on that, Freddie, and I agree with you. The bigger question that I have, Colin, is is this really about Thomas Frank? And I know you probably answered the question already, but I want you to dig it out again and rehash it again. Is this really about Thomas Frank, or is it more about the structure within Tottenham, the whole structure?
It's both. I think that I had done a piece a few weeks ago where it said what's Frank's fault and what's not, and I tried to do it that way. I think it's Frank's fault because the performances have been poor, and last night's was the nadir for me. But I think the bigger problem, if it was a Venn diagram, he's the problem inside the bigger problem. The bigger problem has been the dismantling of Tottenham as an institution that ENIC have done. They were probably one of the first, maybe not, if not the first, but one of the first models whereby investors could see how profitable the Premiership could be, where dividends and profits were more important, and broadening out were more important than the performance and victories on the pitch. In other words, the excitement of, you get news items from Tottenham within the thing. Oh, Adele concert, yeah, brilliant. Or NFL match, yeah, brilliant. Or Madonna sees her two children play for Tottenham women, yeah, brilliant. And as the shout about was it Adele, does she play up front? What we actually are there to do is watch a winning team. So the ownership, I think, have dismantled a wonderful institution. For anyone younger, probably what does he mean about Spurs? Spurs have been around for a long, long time. They're a wonderful club. A lot of people love them and don't support them, that way. So I think the real solution to this longer term is a new ownership. People go, oh well, you don't know, you're better the devil, No, we'll take a chance. I would love to have an ownership that was genuinely interested, like the City and Chelsea were, regardless of background, where they wanted to win trophies, they wanted to play well, they wanted to excite the fans. Jesus, I could do with a wee bit of excitement from Tottenham at the minute. Instead of this endless disappointment, frustration, being nagged at, my good lady, your moods, blah, 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 sitting, watching people sort of have there's Tottenham again, if you're watching it with somebody. A bit of excitement, a bit of something to be proud of. That's what we need. And we need new owners, new strategy, and people who realise what they have, how wonderful this product actually is, All right. You'll have to forgive me. I am Colin, working on an emotional...
In reality, yeah, I know that. I can see that. And in reality, you're not going to get a new ownership model anytime soon. And this is going to go on. And it's been going on effectively for 25 years now. Spurs' position really has been 25 years in the making.
Yeah, probably longer. But that's for another day. Yeah, it won't go away. I mean, The dream scenario is I wake up in the morning. I'm going to have to lift this dog up. Come on.
That's all right. Lift it up. That's fine. New appearance.
Oh, she comes in to tell me. She came in and told me Frank had been sacked earlier. There you are. Look. See her, right, Molly?
Yeah, I can see her.
Molly, as you can see. Molly is a lily white, as you can see. And my last dog was called Lily. So anyway, where were we? The ownership.
Final question. Yeah. Clearly, this is. I assume this is a popular decision with the fan base. That's the final question I'm going to ask you. This is is this a popular decision with the fan base? And what next? Who? What? The fan base are booing. They wanted them out. Who do they want now? What do they want? How do they going to get it?
I think there's two aspects of the boo, and we did a podcast on that. And what I would say, two things is one. Yeah, they're booing the performances. They certainly are, because they've turned up and spent a fortune to get there. You know, you don't get to Tottenham's Ground, White Hart Lane. I was going to say, for no pence, and the tickets are dear. So that was, but they're also signaling to the ownership as well that this isn't good enough and you are complicit in this, So, what happens next, really? I think really, for me, a temporary manager to keep us in the Premiership.
Right.
And then the ownership have to sell it to us that they're in business. Now, the latest irritating statement from Lang was, oh, well, wait until the summer and that's the window you'll really see that we mean business. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I haven't been wrong for 25 effing years. So it's going to change now. We're not asking them. What I'm saying to them is, have you any idea how profitable Spurs would be if you really invested like you meant it? Have you any idea? In this world now, it's a world product. You've got to do that. Okay. Was that your final question? Or
right. Can I ask you one more question?
Of course, yeah.
Can I ask you one more question? Right. I'm looking at your next 5 games. I'm going to read them out to you, and I want you to tell me 1 point, 3 points, or no points. Okay?
Okay.
Right. Spurs next 5 games. Arsenal, 1 point, 3 point, or no points?
1 point.
Away to Fulham, 1 point, 3 point, or no points?
3.
Tottenham Hotspur against Crystal Palace at home, 1 point, 3 points, or no points?
3.
And Liverpool next then?
0. 0.
And then the mighty Nottingham Forest are coming to visit you.
3. I have to go for 3 there. Probably of all those, the dodgy one, believe it or not, is Fulham. Because you don't know which Fulham's going to turn up. But I think the Spurs that needs to turn up is the team that's going to keep us up. And maybe with a new manager by that time, we might actually have a tactical plan to beat them.
Okay.
And for all the Fulham are good. Okay, we'll have a look and see how badly that goes. Probably everyone, all the Arsenal fans are laughing.
Okay, Colin, well...
Yeah. Thank you. And by the way...
You've had your day after them. Yeah. Anything you want to add before we go?
Just come on, you Spurs. Remember what a wonderful, wonderful club you are. Everyone who's involved in it. Just remember that. And do us proud.
Okay. We'll keep you posted with the next thing. If you're listening to this at any stage, please subscribe to the channel, like our videos. It makes the biggest difference to us. And we will be back with any developments over the Spurs or Forest. We could be on here talking tomorrow about Sean Dyche being in a similar position. I hope it doesn't happen, but we will just wait and see. Tonight could be a vital, vital game for everybody concerned. Like, if we win that, we're in joint points with you. So last night, I said to you on Monday or Tuesday that last night and tonight games are vital, and straight away this morning I texted you when I got up and said about him maybe being sacked. An hour later he was sacked. So okay, Colin, thanks for your honesty, and we will if we don't see you in this